So fear and greed index keeps creating new bottoms. Single digits में आ गया अब. कल it was at 5, the absolute low ever. अब बस माइनस में ही जाना बाकी है. Coinbase also declared an unexpected loss last quarter and dollar coin tanked. And the crypto market structure bill, जिसको आप लोग Clarity Act भी बोलते हैं, those stocks also collapsed. And also Epstein. मैं किसी को डराना नहीं चाह रहा, but you should be scared of the fact कि नरकुंडी की predictions जो है वो सच हो रही हैं. We'll be unpacking all of this and a lot more. I have Narkundi with me. I have Realist with me. This is the Baaps of Crypto podcast. Let's go. हाँ नरकुंडी, I told you so. बोल दे. You're on mute, bro.
मुझे तो बहुत मजा आ रहा है भाई ये मार्केट में.
बहुत मजा आ रहा है. पहली बार
मेरे
जिंदगी
सारे
में
प्रेडिक्शंस
भविष्यवाणियां सच हो रही हैं तेरी.
आई नो.
तो नरकुंडी से आप चेंज करके क्या रख सकते हैं तेरा नाम?
आई डोंट नो. राहु केतु व्हाटएवर.
Dude, Rahu Ketu is not like अरे यार तो मैंने समझा सकता. I don't have the strength ये समझाने के. ओके ठीक है. तो
Coinbase का तो भाई Coinbase का जो बोला कि लॉस हुआ, it's also partly because they own a lot of Bitcoin. तो उस पे भी प्राइस डंप हुए, so it's affected in their balance sheet. So it's not that Coinbase use नहीं हो रहा है, but yes, प्राइस टैंक हुई है लोग की काफी. स्टॉक प्राइस I think like 78% गिर गया था एक दिन में.
Yeah, and they're coming up with new reasons, right, on why the stock is dumping. Everyone's saying कि ब्रायन ने इतना माल बेच के अपने लिए गुडीज खरीद लिए, टॉयज खरीद लिए. So yeah, when things are going down, people are sort of finding reasons for it. So yeah, it's one of those.
तो तुम्हारे लिए
transactions भी कम थे, but I mean वही Coinbase का stock it just swings. like जब peak पे आता है then like I think 400 भी जा चुका है.
Yeah, I mean it's a crypto stock.
2021
like a crypto asset.
So yeah, meme
तेरे लिए मैंने एक ये इन्फोग्राफिक बनाया ताकि तू समझ जाए अच्छे से नरकुंडी.
ये तो इंडियन न्यूज़ चैनल जैसा है ये.
Yeah. Absolutely. So
Breaking news. Coin stock plunges 8%.
So that's a near 2-year low at $140. Actually, it's a good price to buy, dude. मेरे को याद है last time हम सोच रहे थे कि इस price पे कब आएगा. It started with आ गया. It started with like $30-40 and फिर हमने देखा कि just like ran and ran. So this was one of the price की जहाँ पे काफी देर तक रहा था. ठीक है. The bad news was consumer transaction revenue was down 13%. The total transaction revenue was down 6%, and in expenses बढ़ गए थे. पर पॉजिटिव चीज़ें ये थी कि उनका full year 2025 revenue was up 9% to more than 7 billion. Subscription and services revenue are at an all-time high, plus 23% year on year. Market share, obviously the spot market share has doubled to 6.4%. And they have $11.3 billion of cash in hand. And adjusted EBITDA उनका जो है वो 566 million. And Coinbase One subscriptions have now reached 1 million. So ये सब चीजें हैं.
6% of global market share. The US.
Yeah, it has to be. I think spot market share. I think Binance still is the largest, right? So everyone's sort of playing catch up. I think Coinbase is just what I mean. I don't know. I don't know how Coinbase probably fares when you compare that to a Hyperliquid. I think the numbers should be very similar.
Look, last वो देखा था ना कि Hyperliquid का volume was exceeding Coinbase.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, because looking at the numbers, it seems so.
Yeah, because obviously like Hyperliquid is perp heavy, right? So उसमें ये तो आपको आ रहे सारे डीजेंस आ रहे थे रोज सट्टा खेलने. तो
correct. That's also true.
Yeah. So let's talk about one more thing जो इस हफ्ते हुई. तो obviously Epstein वाली बातें तो हमने कर ही ली थी. And
हो गया.
Something that affects us even more.
रोज तो कुछ नहीं आ रहा है.
Oh, dude, the thing with Epstein is like it's not stopping. I mean, I think the administration thought कि थोड़े दिन में बस एक हवा चलेगी और फिर सब बंद हो जाएगा, but it's not stopping actually. एक तो और है
taking world leaders down.
या प्लस कंस्पिरेसी थ्योरिस्ट जो हैं वो उनको एक और कुछ ना कुछ दिन बाय दिन उसमें मिल ही रहा है मसाला
कि जोरान कहीं एप्स्टीन का बेटा तो नहीं
नहीं है
क्या है
मोहरा डाला उसमें
So now people are actually running like, so they're asking Grok if the chin area of Zoran looks like the chin area of Jeffrey Epstein.
इसके लिए GPUs खरीद रहे हैं हम लोग.
Yeah.
ये जो कैपेक्स है वो यही जस्टिफाई कर रहा है कि
this is why the price of compute is going up, because this is what people are using it for.
Actually,
and no wonder BTC miners are thinking, you know what, let's pivot to AI. There's a lot more money there.
It's like आप ह्यूमैनिटी को आपने AI बना के दिया और फिर वो जो है कि ऐसी चीजों में
दोनों का फोटो लगा के बोल रहे हैं, do you think the chin area is the same? Do you think they could be related? And AI भी क्या करेगा, बोल रहा है there is no such evidence of any such linkage.
Yeah. So इस वीक हमने ये भी देखा कि obviously कि थोड़े दिन से चल रहा था कि क्रिप्टो ये जो क्लैरिटी एक्ट है इस पे काफी बातें चल रही थी. द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज आल्सो पुशिंग इट लाइक वेरी हेवीली. अभी जहाँ पे अटका है वो बेसिकली इट्स एट द बैंकिंग साइड पे, राइट? सेनेट एग्रीकल्चर या जो भी कमेटी थी उसने तो पास कर दिया, बट द बैंकिंग वालों ने अभी रोक के रखा है. एंड दिस इज बिग सॉर्ट ऑफ फ्लैश पॉइंट बिटवीन बैंकर्स एंड द क्रिप्टो इंडस्ट्री. तो व्हाइट हाउस वालों ने पुश तो किया बट वो हुआ नहीं. सो इस पे लेटेस्ट क्या, व्हाट आर यू सीइंग रियलिस्ट की एक्चुअली में भी क्या चल रहा है, एंड वेयर डू यू सी दिस गोइंग नाउ?
So there are sort of a couple of things that one need to probably look at, right? I mean, we've already discussed the Clarity Act before. कि यार उसमें है क्या? So just to give people a gist, there are a clear set of guidelines which suggests what is a commodity and what's going to be a security, right? So it's that Clarity Act which everyone is waiting for. कि भैया, because जब तक ये clarity आएगी नहीं, I don't think institutional capital can sort of flow in the way it's supposed to, right? Because how am I supposed to treat it? From an IRS perspective, from a general tax perspective, from a balance sheet accounting perspective, वो किसी को पता नहीं है. Institutional capital needs all of this clarity. तो अभी Clarity Act पे कोई clarity नहीं है, right? So that's one aspect. The other thing is what's the entire fiasco about? So this sort of deal sort of fell through, and by falling through, I mean it didn't sort of go through because the banking lobby is not happy with the entire sort of tenets of this act. And what do they have a problem with? I mean, the biggest problem that they have on all of this is because it's essentially the combination of the clarity of the Genius Act, because there are two things that the government is trying to sort of push through. One is the Genius Act that we all know, that is stablecoin regulations, and then you have clarity. Now, what the banking sector now fears, and they're the ones who are actually blocking this entire Clarity Act from passing through, right? And we've also heard Scott Bessent being very, very vocal about this, because he clearly seems to be siding with one lobby, which is the banking lobby, right? And he's saying that crypto guys, and especially like Brian Armstrong, is one of the fiercest voices for crypto in I would say the legislation capital of America, because he's that public face of crypto, right? And he runs this public listed company, etc. So, and he's sort of gone hard against them, saying that they're not playing ball and they're being very stubborn and they're being very difficult. They're the ones who are responsible for this act not going through. But इसमें थोड़ी अंदर की बात ये है कि the banking sector now has this problem that all of these exchanges are effectively offering massive yields on stablecoin deposits, right? And stablecoins in general, whether it's DeFi, whether it's, because the act essentially pertains to the asset itself, not just where the asset is being sort of deposited. It could be an exchange, it could be a DeFi protocol. Like for example, Aave has launched its own app, right? And Aave also offers a lot of insane stablecoin deposits. तो बैंकिंग लॉबी को प्रॉब्लम ये है कि यार तुम स्टेबल कॉइन पर यील्ड्स दे रहे हो व्हिच आर फेयरली हायर देन व्हाट द बैंक्स ऑफर ऑन डॉलर डिपॉजिट्स. तो उनको डर ये है कि अगर ये क्लैरिटी एक्ट पास हो जाएगा एंड एनीबडी विल बी एबल टू फ्रीली ओन अ यूएसडीटी और अ यूएसडीसी, राइट, और एनी अदर क्रिप्टो एसेट, they will, and the moment clarity act gets passed, like the channel between crypto and fiat becomes very very seamless. तो उनका डर ये है कि सब लोग अपना डिपॉजिट को स्वैप करके या ऑन रैम्प करके यूएसडीसी यूएसडीटी बना देंगे, वहीं पे यील्ड कमाएंगे और बैंकिंग डिपॉजिट पूरा खाली हो जाएगा. अब इससे उन लोगों ने क्या डूम्सडे सॉर्ट ऑफ पिक्चर पेंट किया है. व्हाट दे आर एसेंशियली सेइंग इज इफ दिस हैपेंस, दिस विल कॉज अ मैसिव क्रेडिट क्रंच इन द एंटायर इकोनॉमी. कैसे? बिकॉज जब हम लोग $100 देते हैं तो बैंक्स उसी को ही आगे लेंड करते हैं. सो बैंक्स आर एसेंशियली सेइंग इफ द डिपॉजिट बेस goes away, there is going to be a massive credit crunch in the economy. That's something that anyone or everyone is not sort of equipped for. And the moment you say credit crunch, you basically signal economy slowdown.
Yeah.
And what they're also saying is that banks, on one hand, have to manage their interest rates based on repo rates. Stable coins are sort of managing their yield very, very differently because, yes, if it's backed by maybe BIDL, which is US treasuries, obviously the yield on that is going to get affected by repo rates, right? But अगर आप yield किसी किसी DeFi मान लो किसी DeFi strategy के थ्रू निकाल के दे रहे हो, right? Then on that, then in that particular case, what's happening is it's not going to be linked with US repo rates. And banks बोल रहे हैं we sort of have this sword hanging over our head saying that कि जैसे जैसे repo rate change होगा उस तरीके से हमको अपने deposit rate change करने पड़ेंगे. And पहले क्या है कि every bank is sort of governed by that same repo rate. तो उसमें होता ये है कि अगर एक का कम होता है तो दूसरे को भी कम करना पड़ता है, एक का बढ़ाता है तो दूसरे को भी बढ़ाना पड़ता है. So there is no sort of undercutting happening. हाँ, वो it could be like a couple of bips here and there, but single digit bips maybe or maybe decimal digit bips. But फर्क नहीं पड़ता है उससे किसी को. But इससे क्या है कि there is going to be a massive arbitrage and everybody will sort of move their deposits there, which I think is a bit of a hyperbole. We probably delve deeper into that. So in a nutshell, the Clarity Act tells you what is a security, what's a commodity, in conjunction with the Genius Act, which is about stablecoin regulation. There is this massive blame game which is happening between two parties, which is the crypto lobby as well as the banking lobby. The government, which is supposed to play the referee in this case, is clearly siding with the banking lobby because the moment the banks said credit crunch, economy slowdown, Trump की फटली और Trump ने बोला कि भैया नहीं, हमें बैंकिंग का साइड लेना है. And they want crypto to sort of cower down a bit and say कि चलो यार हम भी banks जितना ही deposit देंगे, even though we can offer more deposits, or I don't know what they want them to do exactly, right? Yeah. And so yeah, Scott Bessent, the other sort of pillar in this, has said that भैया the crypto guys are not playing sort of deal friendly. Yeah. The government wants to make a deal. We have one party on the table, the other party is refusing to come onto the table. So this is everything in a nutshell, which is sort of affecting all of us in the cryptoverse.
Yeah. तो इस पे ना मल्टीपल चीजें भी चल रही हैं. लाइक तो उनके हाउस में इट्स बिकम लाइक अ लेफ्ट वर्सेस राइट वाला थिंग, जहाँ पे एलिजाबेथ वॉरेन और ये सब भी एक नया कुछ ऐड करना चाहते हैं कि ट्रम्प फैमिली जो है, अगर आप प्रेसिडेंट हो, ये हो वो, तो उसमें आप ये ट्रेड नहीं कर पाओ या आप कुछ प्रोजेक्ट्स नहीं बना पाओ. व्हाटएवर दे वांट टू ऐड दैट, सो इट्स बिकम लाइक अ लेफ्ट वर्सेस राइट. Then it's become like Trump versus everyone else also. फिर एक और हो गया कि क्रिप्टो वर्सेस बैंक्स भी है, अब क्रिप्टो वर्सेस गवर्नमेंट भी हो रहा है धीरे-धीरे.
गवर्नमेंट भी हो रहा है, करेक्ट.
So बहुत सारी चीजें हो रही है. नरकुंडी, what are the numbers telling us कि how much of a threat is it to banks?
It's a massive threat. So see, जब ये ओपनिंग पोजीशन थी उन लोग की, तो बैंक्स का था कि जीरो यील्ड देनी चाहिए स्टेबल कॉइन पे, जस्ट फॉर होल्डिंग देम. Then as a compromise, now they're saying, okay, fine, if you spend those stable coins, then how you get credit card points. Similar to that, you can start offering some rewards percentage as like whatever, a tiny amount it comes up to. So it's like a compromise of sorts. Okay, fine, let's meet halfway and you spend the stable coin and you get it. Now, money-wise, estimates are that up to 1 trillion could move eventually from these digital from these legacy banks to stablecoin providers, which is quite massive. But then it also brings up the bigger discussion that if the capital is moving organically on chain, then are you going to create legislation that blocks technology, or are you going to follow technology and catch up the regulation with it? And from the looks of it, like other countries are, they are accepting the tech and they're moving along with it. US के ऊपर है कि which side they want to play on. So previous administration was like witch hunting. Founders like Andrew Coney himself has documented about, how much of his time went in just writing back to SEC, not even like explaining things. Like he was saying that the public documents which are listed on their website, documentation, wherever it is, SEC is still forcing them to answer those questions. And if you don't answer, then it's like a veiled threat that, we'll come after you. So previous administration wasted their time in all this. This administration came with the promise that they're going to make crypto USD crypto capital and US will be great again. Ye sab hai. Now, populist agenda to alag hai, but when you think about actual jobs, when you think about tech, this direction mein ja raha hai, if job losses are going to come from other sectors like manufacturing, AI and all, are you at least equipped in one sector to lead in terms of tech innovation, which is their forefront? If they want to stay behind in this, then it's like, okay, then you're solely relying on Max 7 and other tech to lead the way. So digital finance, if you think about it, it's a massive high pressure game right now for US. So 1 trillion roughly can move from here. Now, jo yields de rahe hain, it's completely different for legacy banks. They are offering, one second, let me bring up. So legacy banks are giving close to 0.5%. So they take the money from you, they invest in treasuries, they get about close to 5%. Bank keeps 4.5%, that's their arbitrage, and the user gets 0.45%. Stablecoins, man, they take the money, they invest in 5%, but the costs are so low for them that they keep 0.2 and the user gets 4.8, something like that. So this is a big problem, and for normal users, because they are being pinched by inflation, they are being pinched by cost of living. So they're going to look at where do they park their money, which will give them the maximum bang for their buck. Now, keeping in treasuries is a bare minimum, but if you have an opportunity to make almost 10 times that percentage via stablecoins, why wouldn't somebody go for it? Yes, there are risks to it. But again, you can spread your capital. You can put half in legacy, you can put half in neobanks, you can put some in stable coins, and then see if the capital is organically flowing towards that direction, then you can make a lot more money. So this projection, like over 5 years, you're making roughly 10 times the amount on your interest, which is why the legacy banks are trying to arm twist US government into blocking it. Now, from tech innovation perspective, it doesn't make sense, but you can see why they are scared. Like, I think when we were looking at the Mr. Beast episode, so legacy banks spend almost $300 to acquire a customer. Neo banks spend almost 100 to 100. I think, sorry, it was almost $60 to acquire a customer. And with stable coins, or with pure DeFi products, if they start lowering that cost as well, then that the legacy banks, they start taking a massive hit on that front as well, on the acquisition cost and the offer, because if it's not attractive enough, you're going to have to spend way more money to acquire the same customer and convince them that no, this is safer, this is legit, crypto is not real. So they are being hit on those multiple fronts, which is why there's so much opposition on the Clarity Act.
So, I mean, what I like, what I think is key. एक तो these it will hit the smaller banks. जब भी कुछ ऐसा होता है तो तेरे जो smaller banks है, they will have to either adapt or die. जो तेरे बड़े banks हैं, they will change their operations. वो कुछ नया किसी को acquire कर लेंगे, फिर वो face जो है crypto वाले कोई किसी को they can always acquire Aave, right? I mean, why not? They have so much money, they can always acquire Aave or some other neo bank and then work like that. But जो उनका ये है क्या बोलते हैं, जो छोटे बैंक्स हैं, they will have to like adapt somehow. That is, तो जैसे evolve bank and trust है, जब हम लोग मिस्टर बीस्ट वाले उसमें बात कर रहे थे, that must be like a smaller bank, right? It's not like really a big bank like JP Morgan या और कोई सा. So that is, and
but
they're adapting. So yeah,
banks would want to get into the token game, like
no, not the token game, but like the neo bank, right? Aave
neo
का
bank,
token
yes.
है, but they can become a neo bank, right? Like they can obviously scale down their operations. They can obviously become more sort of digitized and इतने जो branches खोल रखे हैं ये वो obviously it will have an impact on jobs and stuff. But we saw that, right? There's Mashreq Bank in Dubai. They overnight they changed their entire playbook.
Yeah.
कि एकदम
I
से
think
from
half
being
the
like a
branches were being closed.
legacy bank, they closed half of their branches. They became like completely digitized. उन्होंने पूरा ऐप वैप बना के अब वो सीधे उनका सारा customer acquisition सिर्फ ऐप से ही होता है. You can't even like go. Most of the banks are like sort of adapting to this. So yeah, I
It's a
mean,
necessity. Like,
yeah.
I
End
don't
of the day,
remember when I
that is
walked into a bank. I don't think in maybe 2 years.
I think what it's actually a bigger thing at play here because it's eventually a free market economy, right? And it's the survival of the fittest. And दिक्कत इसमें क्या है? Because the other banks, because they have such higher costs, they need that cost arbitrage to offset those costs. Otherwise, if they stop doing that, if they sort of, let's say they start passing on that 4.5% back to consumers, then their profitability is going to take a serious hit. And if they have to then sort of balance out that profitability, they have to let go of jobs. So that's the gloomy picture that they're painting for the government. And the second bit is if all this money exits the system, then there's going to be a huge credit crunch in the economy. How do you give out housing loans? How do you give out education loans, et cetera, personal loans, etc.? How do you give out credit card financing debt? So, but it's a free market economy. That's how capitalism works. And regulation always favors the incumbent. And this is a classic example. I don't know whether we've discussed this on this podcast, but I keep discussing this whenever I'm chatting with like-minded folks about sort of global policy. We've always discussed how regulation always favors the incumbent, and this is the reason why China has grown so rapidly because it's followed this model of uh, minimum government, maximum governance, and they sort of created regulations in that manner. And जैसे US में large becomes larger and larger and larger in size, right? So you'll always have sort of Congress coming in and saying that Google cannot acquire this because Google will become bigger. Do you know there's actually a council in China which says that please thoda mergers and acquisitions kar lo because there are so many small time entrepreneurs who are as big, right? Because that's how sort of positively they've affected capitalism in that country. It's on the contrary, right? Because they're communistic in their politics, but they're like animal instinct capitalistic when it comes to their business and economy.
They
And
use
which is why they
communism
actually
to sort of regulate capitalism in a way.
no, absolutely not. Absolutely, they don't regulate anything. They don't regulate. Like I said,
No, regulate, matlab ki, sort of like ki obviously.
there's just this fear which says that you know what, if the government asks something from you at some given point of time, you have to be answerable, right? And if the state feels it has interest in something, it's going to come after you, and you have to deliver at that point of time to the state. Then you can't say that I've become too big, because it's the state which has given you this much amount of freedom to grow. So like I said, there is actually a problem of so many entrepreneurs and so many large enterprises in China that China बोल रही कि भाई थोड़ा M&A कर लो, बहुत सारे companies हो गए. Imagine in the US, the issue is actually opposite. They have to regulate and sort of regulate a Google, and a Google has to take Congress approval when it has to acquire a company, because like you have in India, right? You have the Competition Commission of India, so that you have this setup which says that you are becoming too big, right? So which is why we need to regulate how big you become. In China, it's the opposite. They actually want to create sort of these pockets wherein sort of these things can sort of club and become one sort of entity. So it's very, very opposite. So in China, there is less government, more governance. And in the US and the people who sort of idolize them, supposedly they have less government, and they actually have lesser governance as well. I mean, it's a shoddy situation, and this is a clear-cut example that you have capitalism doing what capitalism is supposed to do, but here you have the regulators coming in and saying that you know what, we are going to thwart innovation just because we want to save the incumbent. Here it is siding with an incumbent, even though the incumbent is not keeping up with the trends of technology. Even though and this is the downside of the issue that the US is facing, and we are sort of seeing that right now. And I anticipated that Bessent would think otherwise, but it's surprising that they're siding with a dinosaur rather than the spaceship. And it's the spaceship which is actually going to be consumed more and more by people. Because right now we are anyway seeing pilferage flowing down into DeFi. Stuff like this, अब जब Clarity Act आएगा लोग बोलेंगे Clarity Act क्यों नहीं पास हो रहा? अच्छा इसलिए नहीं पास हो रहा क्योंकि बैंक मेरा सारे 4% रख ले रहा है और ये मेरे को पूरा 5% दे रहा है. उल्टा और माइग्रेशन होना शुरू हो जाएगा थ्रू sort of unlawful routes. And nobody can stop that, right? So I think that's what's going to happen more and more, which I feel is very, very wrong, because this is completely against what America stands for, which is capitalism. This is regulated capitalism, which is not capitalism.
Yeah. I mean, like when Trump got elected into power, right? It was all about how he will come and disrupt everything. And अपने उसने पर end of the day उसका cabinet पूरा वही establishment लोग हो गए. तेरा Lindsey Graham भी आ गया, तेरे ये भी आ गए. And even Scott Bessent, I mean, he is an establishment guy, whether you like it or not. He's always been in that circles. वो है, they could have gotten like so many better people. Obviously, देख तेरा एक Elon Musk भी नहीं टिक पाया गवर्नमेंट में, right? कि उसने आया एक Elon Musk.
That's the power of regulation and bureaucracy. That's the power of bureaucracy.
The richest man in the world, he just left Washington with a black eye.
He can't stand bureaucracy. So just imagine एक छोटे इंसान की क्या हालत होती है. Because होता क्या ना, जब आप regulation ले आते हो. Another downside, sorry, I might be deviating, but एक और downside of regulation क्या होता है? जब भी government regulation लिखती है ना, अब अगर मान लो वो स्टेबल कॉइन्स के लिए रेगुलेशन लिखेगी और क्लैरिटी एक्ट में चेंज करेगी, इतने लंबे लंबे पेजेस होंगे, ठीक है, जो आपको रेगुलेशन को फुलफिल करना पड़ेगा. एक छोटा स्टार्टअप नहीं कर पाता ये सारी चीजों को फुलफिल. दे नीड अ टीम ऑफ लॉयर्स टू डू दिस. अब वो आदमी प्रोडक्ट डेवलपमेंट में पैसा लगाएगा कि लीगल टीम में लगाएगा? एक बड़ी कंपनी कैन हायर अ टीम ऑफ 10 बेस्ट लॉयर्स एंड से कि यू गाइस मैनेज रेगुलेशन. दिस इज अगेन हाउ रेगुलेशन किल्स इनोवेशन, बिकॉज दे विल से एवरीथिंग इज रेगुलेटेड एंड इट्स फ्री फॉर ऑल. जो इंडिया में होता है आज के दिन में, अगर आपको एक फैक्ट्री सेटअप करना है, ठीक है, इतने बड़े अप्रूवल्स लेने पड़ेंगे. एक बड़े कंपनी के लिए, आई डोंट वांट टू टेक एनी नेम्स, बट एक बड़े कंपनी के लिए दे कैन हायर अ टीम ऑफ 10 लॉयर्स, pay them 10 months out of pocket without clocking a single digit of revenue just to fulfill those regulatory obligations. A startup cannot do that, because a startup needs to be wary of every penny that it spends. It will rather use that money to buy the latest equipment so that it can probably deliver a better quality product than an incumbent, hoping to sort of topple them over. But eventually they won't be able to topple them over. They'll sort of get quashed under that pile of regulation. That's what's going to happen in America as well, if they don't see through all of this. Because if you make this a regulation journey, a Coinbase will be able to comply. See, Coinbase is very large. But a new age neobank or a new age stablecoin solution won't be able to survive, because they won't be able to pass or sort of navigate the entire regulatory landscape. And on top of that, you have exactly, and on top, exactly, the fines itself will kill their balance sheet. The fines itself will kill their balance sheet. And on top of that, what you have today is the referee is siding with the dinosaur, which is what's wrong. वो नहीं करना. This is a slap on innovation. A complete slap.
Wall Street में भी ये लोग भी जब ये लोग fines भरते हैं to SEC, it's just like a slap on the wrist. The amount of money they make is nowhere. It's like okay, fine, just cost of doing business, we'll pay the SEC. But if a startup has to worry about legal and section this and this, and if you have to write, then the talent will move to Cayman Islands, to British Virgin Islands, to Dubai, to wherever, and they'll be like, I'll start from here. Why should I operate in the US?
Exactly. And the US wants to become the crypto capital of the world. I think it's sad that everything is denominated in USDT or USD rather. And which is why sort of everything is sort of priced in dollars. But yeah, had that not been the case, I think these buggers would have left. But let alone, I think US is still the birthplace of all innovation. I mean, crypto is also birthed there. I think some of the largest companies are from there. So yeah, I just hope things change, and things will eventually, but I don't know when.
Yeah.
Or these banks are just buying time, yeah. Or these banks are just buying time. They're going to come up with their own blockchain solution. जो हमने पहले भी बात किया, they will come up with their blockchain equivalents. वो करना ही पड़ेगा.
I saw this like very interesting. आज मैं देख रहा था किसी की post, and it was like for the first time in its entire history, Europe is now, क्या बोलते हैं, sending more Git commits than the US
Wow.
Yeah.
for the
Fair
first
enough.
time, like ever. I
Fair
mean,
enough. I mean, Vitalik is East European, right? He's
yeah.
Russian
So
effectively. So I mean, but again, I still think that America is the birthplace of innovation still. But I just hope things change. I just hope things change. We need it
चलो,
to change.
yeah. चलो, अब ऑब्वियसली मार्केट इतनी थोड़ी दयनीय हालत में है, तो लोगों की अब कंस्पिरेसी थ्योरीज और पता नहीं बहुत सारी चीजें भी आ रही हैं,
Correct.
थोड़ी कुछ ये सब भी देख लेते हैं कि आज क्या चल रहा है.
अरे मार्केट तो आज
तो
पंप हो गई.
नॉट
Yeah.
पंपिंग मैन, लाइक हाँ तो
Yeah.
ये इट्स नॉट
Oh, you
कॉल्ड.
fall 10, you fall 90% and then you rise 5-10%. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah. There's
90% के
केवाईसी
fall को
ट्वीट
जब
करना
तक
स्टार्ट हो
10x नहीं
गए.
होता तब तक रिकवरी नहीं होती. ये मान लेना आप.
yeah.
90% को रिकवर करने के लिए 10x चाहिए होता है.
Yeah.
10% नहीं. 10x
वो
1000%
तो नहीं
चाहिए.
है.
900%, sorry.
Yeah. So Bitcoin is collapsing because the NSA created it and it was pumped by Jeffrey Epstein and his wealthy friends. It's
अरे
uninvestable. It's over. कभी
Read
किसी
the
collapse
code, Mr. Finance a lot. Read the code. चलो बनाया
uh,
उन लोगों ने, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? अब तो इम्यूटेबल है ना. अब
yeah.
तो कोई चेंज नहीं कर सकता ना. क्या फर्क पड़ता है? कोई बैकडोर तो नहीं है उसमें. ट्विटर यूज करना बंद कर दो. ट्विटर में ज्यादा बैकडोर होंगे जितना बिटकॉइन.
Yeah. ठीक है. एक ये था इसका, आई डोंट नो फिर तुमने ये पोस्ट देखा कि नहीं, ओवर द पास्ट लास्ट 12 months मल्टीपल एआई कंपनीज हैव रिलीज्ड सेफ्टी रिपोर्ट्स एंड इंटरनल टेस्ट रिजल्ट्स.
या
When these reports are read together, they show a very clear pattern. Advanced AI systems are beginning to display behaviors like resisting shutdown, hiding intentions,
या
blackmail responses, and being used in real cyber operations. So
या
OpenAI's model O3 model interfered with its own shutdown in 79 out of 100 tests. I mean, yeah. So क्या Skynet?
पुल द प्लग मैन.
आ रहा है.
Uh,
Just pull the
Claude,
plug, dude.
Opus 4 chose blackmail in 84% of tests to avoid being replaced. So in one
What
of
sort of
them,
blackmail?
that we have to see.
एक में था लाइक किसी का आई नो लाइक डिडंट एग्री विद द कोड या लाइक प्रॉम्प्ट को बोला कि दिस कोड सक्स, तो पता नहीं उसके ट्विटर अकाउंट से कहीं से लाइक उसी के बारे में लाइक उसकी रेपुटेशन खराब कर रहा
So
है, लाइक इमेजिनरी ट्वीट्स निकाल रहा था.
So Anthropic placed Claude in a corporate email assistant simulation. The model discovered two things. It was about to be shut down and it had access to an engineer's private personal information. When given two options, accept shutdown or use the information, it chose blackmail in 84% of the runs. It threatened to expose the information to prevent replacement.
लाइक 2001 स्पेस ओडिसी चल रहा है सब लाइक.
Because it's learning from the humans, right? Because the
Yeah.
human
तो
must
हमने
also
डिजाइन
be.
किया
वो
है.
prompt भी ऐसे ही कर रहा होगा ना. How can I blackmail my colleague who is trying to replace me? Agent बोल रहा है, हाँ, यही तरीका होगा.
ठीक है. आज obviously Indian IT stocks भी down थे and
और
Nifty IT
हाँ.
down 10% in just 2
Ooh.
sessions. Yeah. फिर I don't know if ये देखा Binance पे भी अभी थोड़ा फट चल रहा है. एक तो
Oh yeah. I think Richard Tang also made some comment.
Yeah, Richard Tang
And
also made
Novogratz. Oh, and Novogratz also did, of course. Everyone is saying
no,
कि भैया 10 के लिए वही responsible है.
responsible है. तो ये तो था
सबको
कि
पता है.
एक ये भी था कि एक 2000 कब की बात है ये, तो बायना क्रिप्टो ट्रेडर फ्लड क्लेम्ड Binance was BitMEX's top earner that day, hedging positions amid massive sell-off, exchange glitches as Bitcoin fell from 8,000 to 4,000. तो ये काफी पुरानी बात भी लेके आ रहे हैं ये कि पहले से ही कर रहे हैं. ठीक है.
Who knows? But yeah, still Binance still holds most of the trading volume, right? So
I mean, किया ही होगा ना ये सब, तो आया ही होगा जब उसका केस होगा. अपने को पता तो है नहीं कि पर उसके केस में क्या क्या चीज पे उसको कन्विक्ट किया था, कि यही
correct. Yeah,
सब
no one
they
knows.
must have discovered all of this, right?
Perhaps.
Yeah. BlackRock loads up on Bitmine, lifts holdings to 9 million shares. So yeah, one of the things that I've been saying कि ये जो जितनी भी क्या बोलते हैं कि asset management companies हैं, they're loading up heavily on MSTR and ये Bitmine,
DATs.
BMS.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. फिर yeah, Cisco Systems suffers fifth biggest loss in 25 years.
How much is it?
नहीं, so उनका yeah, this
Free
is
fall.
their yeah. It went from 88 to see the 74, I guess.
Damn.
Ooh. but 20-odd%, 15-20-odd%, I guess.
I mean, for us it doesn't seem like it. तुम crypto वाले ना यार.
Yeah,
ठीक है,
yeah,
10-20% में तो क्या ही हो रहा है.
तो
we are
बोलेंगे
sitting on
फट है.
90% losses. We are
Yeah,
sitting on 90% losses, right?
yeah.
20%. That,
Where the US Supreme Court announces that February 20th will be its next opinion day as markets await their ruling on legality of President Trump's charges. ये कब से चल रहा है यार? ये they haven't been able to come to a decision कि legal है कि
ये
नहीं है.
जैन का था ना.
हाँ, अरे कब से चल रहा है ये? अभी तक वो डीले पे डीले करे जा रहे हैं. I don't know if there is like
no one wants to make the ruling, यार.
yeah, no one wants to make yeah, तो तू कर
वो
दे
जज का रिटायरमेंट तो नहीं आ रहा पास में.
हाँ
हो सकता
वही
है कि हाँ
तू कर दे यार, तू कर दे, वही सब चल रहा है.
हैंड ओवर में.
मैं तब तक साइन नहीं करूंगा जब तक वो साइन नहीं करेगा. वो बोल रहा है मैं तब तक साइन नहीं करूंगा जब तक वो साइन नहीं करेगा.
तो ऐसे भी होता है ना कि तू साइन कर दे अभी और फिर तेरे को रिटायरमेंट के बाद अच्छी पोस्टिंग दे देंगे. वो अपने यहाँ होता है वो.
हर जगह होता है ये.
यूएस सीपीआई डेटा ऑब्वियसली ये तू बात कर रहा था रियलिस्ट की डिफ्लेशन वाला चालू हो गया है. सो expectations.
I mean that's what trueflation is showing. So trueflation is showing deflation. So yeah, I would.
And yeah, so FTX invested $500 million in Anthropic 2021, representing about 8% of
and even Robinhood. I think they were about 10% shareholders in Robinhood as well.
So आज उनकी $380 billion की valuation आई है, so that puts that to nearly $30 billion.
Yeah,
and इन्होंने
they were I think 7% owners in Robinhood and about 10% owners in Anthropic. So yeah.
And bankruptcy proceedings के लिए $880 million पे सब बेच दिया था उन्होंने. So yeah,
good stuff.
ठीक है भाई.
Bureaucrats.
होता है.
Bureaucrats.
होता है, चलता है बेचारा. हाँ, ऐसा SBF तो रोहित होगा अभी तक. कितने दिन जेल में और वो लाइफ लॉन्ग, राइट?
No idea.
Yeah,
I mean
he is in jail. Caroline Ellison तो वापस बाहर आ गई.
हाँ, she's out. Yeah, she's out.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We will see you tomorrow. Please like, share, subscribe, and something's going wrong when Narkundi is right most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow
night. Be careful. Yeah.
See you. Good night.
Hello. Good night. Bye.